With the new NBA collective bargaining agreement in place, which has been agreed upon for a 7-year deal, people have asked, okay, what does this stuff mean? How do you explain some of these in basic terms that's easy to understand? And more importantly, how do some of these new changes to the CBA impact the Chicago Bulls going forward? While, mind you, I am just a fan like you, and I am by no means an expert, nor will I profess to know and understand everything that is in the new CBA agreement. I will do my best to try and lay it out for you guys and how it may potentially impact the Chicago Bulls. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Real quick, in case you missed a prior video of mine, we have a brand new sponsor to the channel who has graciously agreed to sponsor the channel for the next few months, and that is Sorare. I am so excited to have Sorare on board because it's actually a great way to play along with all of you guys and build out this great Bulls community that we've created. If you don't know Sorare, unlike most fantasy sports apps, they are different in that it's actually a fantasy gaming marketplace that enables you to play where users own their players forever. Think of it like you're a GM creating your own dynasty and you compete in weekly fantasy competitions for great prizes, including digital card assets that you can buy and sell. Users are owners or general managers of their own team, making trades, buying and selling players, etc. And unlike other gaming sites or betting platforms, it doesn't cost you anything to play. You can start for free. I've created my own private league where you can compete and play against each other for prizes and offers. Shout out to those who have already joined the private league, and a big shout out to Rizzle2, who sits at the top of the leaderboard currently. The league is called Bulls Central. You can sign up and register for the league using the link in the description. I'm actually going to be posting updates every week and giving shoutouts to those who finish at the top of the league leaderboard. So play around with it. It's the best way to learn how to play the more you familiarize yourself with it. It's free and it's a great way to have some friendly competition among the Bulls community. Check it out. Link is in the description. Join the private league, and thanks again to Sorare for sponsoring this video. Now, like I said, I am by no means an expert when it comes to understanding this stuff. I mean, really, when you get into all of the ins and outs of the CBA, NBA salary caps, luxury tax thresholds, cap aprons, it can get pretty confusing. But like I said, I'll do my best to give an overview, and then I'll also have a video out explaining more on how this impacts the NBA at large on my NBA channel, and One Hoops. Link to that is in the description if you guys want to check that one out. But let me start with what will likely be the most impactful for the Bulls. And to be honest, it's not really something the Bulls should be proud of, but that's the fact that the NBA will be curbing the ability of the highest spending teams to continue running up salary and luxury tax spending while still having mechanisms in place to add talent to the roster. So what does that mean? Well, you look at a team like the Golden State Warriors, always going into the luxury tax, and they're still able to add quality players using the mid-level exception, signing players off the buyout market, signing guys for vet minimum deals who are looking to win a title, or even taking on more money that is being sent out in trades. So what does that mean? Well, it means teams that are spending the most money won't be able to take advantage of loopholes that still enable them to pay over the luxury tax by getting players via exceptions, which, if you're the Bulls, this is fine because the Reinsdorfs never pay into the luxury tax anyway. They're never going to be one of the highest spending teams in the NBA. Their history speaks for itself. So if anything, this kind of favors the Bulls in the sense that it levels the playing field a bit and not enabling these teams to simply pay an insane amount of money and still be able to add talent to the roster. Is that fair? I don't know. While I get the change here is to create more parity in the NBA, I also don't think you should penalize teams that are willing to spend and do what it takes to win a championship or create a contending championship roster. I guess it's good for some smaller market teams who simply don't have that kind of money and revenue to be able to spend crazy amounts of money to create a team. But overall, not a fan of this change, even though to an extent it does favor the Bulls indirectly, in that teams like the Warriors or Clippers won't be able to get away spending high amounts of money legally. As an example, the Golden State Warriors, who signed Dante DiVincenzo to their mid-level exception this past offseason, would no longer be able to do that, given they're already over what they're now instituting in a second salary cap apron that is above the luxury tax threshold. In addition to this, in favoring teams with lower payrolls or remaining under the tax line, which is the Bulls, there will be spending and trade opportunities for these teams, including larger trade exceptions and expanded exceptions to the salary cap. This would mean that teams would be able to make bigger trades and taking in money with less outgoing money if you're below the salary cap, which, if you're the Bulls, is a good thing given you're given more opportunities to make trades in taking on more money with these expanded exceptions. The new CBA is also implementing a minimum games threshold to be played to be eligible for NBA awards like MVP, All-NBA teams, Defensive Player of the Year, etc. This is really an attempt to solve for the problem of load management that the NBA has been facing in recent years with stars sitting out games, especially in back-to-back games. This doesn't really impact the Bulls because most of their players are always playing with very little load management. You saw a little bit of that at the beginning of the year with Lavine, but no longer really the case. I mean, the thing is, I feel a lot of people act like The players are the ones deciding to sit out games or opting for load management and not playing all 82 games of the season. But most of the time, this is coming at the direction of the teams themselves, trying to rest their star players where they can. Like, we shouldn't get it twisted in thinking that this is suddenly going to change how teams feel about resting their star players, their biggest investments. I get it, and I think it's good because too often we see star players taking some time off when fans pay a lot of money to come see them play, which isn't a good product for the NBA and their fans. But I don't know if this is really going to curb the challenge they have with load management. Either try to eliminate back-to-back games or balance the schedule more so there isn't as much traveling. The NBA is also adding the long-discussed in-season tournament, which I am really not a fan of. I think it's so gimmicky and will mean nothing in terms of the overall team and players' success and their overall accolades and resume, what have you. They're going to be getting paid. They're going to pay every player $500,000 in a bonus to the winner of the in-season tournament as an attempt to get them excited about it and actually make it fun and exciting for fans. I still don't understand how the in-season tournament is going to work, as the games are actually going to count as regular season games and towards their standings, with the exception of that finals, as that would be the 83rd game. They haven't fully explained how this is going to work, but it's going to be happening in late November, early December, and it's going to start. It's going to happen in this upcoming NBA season. Another change that is going to be implemented that I actually like and could impact the Bulls is increasing the upper limit on extensions from 120% to 140%. So in this instance, Zach Lavine would have actually received 20% more on his max contract extension, but it also enables teams to spend more into their ability to operate over the cap. Because the new CBA has also agreed to increase the overall salary cap as well by 10% per year, and in addition to that, the luxury tax threshold will also increase by the same amount as the cap every year, whereas before, the luxury tax line only increased by $5 million every season since 2011, which is good for the Bulls because the more the tax line goes up, the more ownership is going to be willing to spend just to remain below that tax line. Doesn't help much when you're going to be cheap to try and stay below that line, but rather than an increase of $5 million every year, it'll go up 10% every year with the overall salary cap, at least for the next 7 years under this current CBA deal. Some other pretty big changes which will actually impact the Bulls in the immediate term. They have made a change to allow restricted free agents to have a bit of leverage when going into their own free agency, with both Ayo and Coby White are going to be set to be restricted free agents this offseason, those being the fact that the qualifying offer amount in restricted free agency will increase by 10%, and in addition to that, the time a team has to match an offer sheet is now 24 hours compared to 48 hours previously. So say Coby White gets an offer sheet from another team this offseason, the Bulls would have to match said offer in 24 hours while it used to be 48. Also, as it relates to rookie scale contracts and extensions, so this would also apply to Patrick Williams, who is extension eligible to his rookie contract this offseason, teams can offer 5-year extensions on a rookie scale deal, whereas before it was just 4 years, even if the extension is worth less than the maximum salary. So in theory, the Bulls could extend Pat on a 5-year deal, which you would hope would be relatively cheap considering he hasn't been able to prove to be a max level player or a near max level player. And this could also apply to Ayo and Coby as it relates to their potential extensions as restricted free agents. This can now be 5 years instead of the previous 4 years. And then finally, there were a lot of miscellaneous changes that I wouldn't really say impacts the Bulls specifically, but more the league at large. Players aren't going to be tested for marijuana anymore. In fact, in a pretty sizable move, players are now able to invest and promote sports betting and cannabis companies, which is whatever. I mean, there is probably some conflict of interest there, but whatever, I'm not really worried about that. Players are also going to be able to invest in NBA and WNBA franchises, the first of its kind in any major sports league, which is kind of cool that players will be able to become part owners in teams so that they have a vested interest for the team that they play for. To confirm though, players are not going to be compensated by receiving ownership stake in the team they play for. That would be illegal. This is more so players having the ability to invest their own money in like an NBA team's index fund. So anyway, these are some of the biggest changes to the new CBA. This obviously doesn't cover all the changes, and to be honest, more details of the new CBA deal continue to trickle out as the days go on since the new agreement was made. And really the biggest changes that will impact the Bulls are the salary cap and luxury tax increases, which will give Bulls ownership an excuse to spend a little more without paying the tax. And of course, the changes to the rookie scale extensions and restricted free agency, which will apply to guys like Ayo, Coby, and Pat, and soon to be Dalen Terry when he's eligible for an extension in a couple of seasons. So I know it's a lot to take in. Feel free to ask any clarifying questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer all of them. And again, there might be some of you that know the answers better than I do. And if there was anything I missed, do let me know in the comments. The Bulls have a big game tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks. This is a big game for the Bulls as they are neck and neck with the Hawks in the standings, and this game will decide the tiebreaker between the two teams. But anyways, until then, as always guys, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.